Okay, just to remind you that this will be a long story. This was made by Jack Wright, second period by Mrs. Schmidt. So revolutionary. Okay, it started out as a normal day. That's if your normal day is fighting for 1973 or 1793. Sorry, France in the middle of the French Revolution. My fellow soldiers and I have been stuck in a stalemate with the French military with Bordeaux for months now. Ever since the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte, the citizens of France have been turning against their government. Me? I never want to get caught up on this mess. I was just a typical Englishman. But when the war started when I was in France, making a trade deal with the representative of Napoleon, the deal was I was making would have me very, very rich. But part of the deal that I started that I had to serve Napoleon's army for the rest of the world. I currently had all the cash that I needed. 1.5 million French lives. Oi, Josh, get your post. Prepare to fire. My general yelled at me. Yes, sir. Okay, why did I do that? So I made it on my post. I hate working for Napoleon. The bunkers were terrible. The ground underneath my feet was pure mud, and there were probably around 15 different diseases in the bunker. Oh, and I forgot to mention the fear during my dying every minute. As I loaded my rifle, I heard someone yell, "Bombay!" He screamed, "This is Andre!" A bomb coming to a bunker. That was everyone's worst fear while living in a bunker. I probably one had like 10 seconds to react, so I darted behind the tower of boxes that was filled with food. 10 seconds later, I was feeling disorientated. My ears were ringing, the smell of smoke filled my nose, but everything was silent. No yelling, no gunshots, no nothing. I looked around the utter shock. Bodies, dead bodies everywhere. The entire bunker was covered in blood. I somehow survived the attack, and it looked like I was the only one alive. Hello? I yelled, seemingly to nobody. Hello? I yelled again. However, I got the reply this time. Please help. I heard a voice say it sounded like he was very badly injured. I eventually found him. He was a fellow Englishman. He was just out of the radius of the explosion, but it blew him into the psyche of some bunker or something. His nose and his right arm were clearly broken. I slowly helped him to get to his feet. Hey mate, cheers for helping me. Is anyone else alive? He asked. I'm afraid not. It seems like it is just two of us now. I replied, damn it, I need to get out of this war. I have had enough. You aren't the only one, lad. We should help each other escape here. Yeah, but we will have to be very careful not to be caught. What is your name, lad? I asked. Steve, what about you, lad? He replied, the name's Josh. So we made our way into the century of Bordeaux, while Steve was getting the treatment for his arm. I rented out a very round house just for a few days while we were making a plan of how to escape for France. After a week being in a hospital, Steve was finally get to meet with me to ever discuss the plan. The only way we're going to be able to escape by is taking the wagon. There's no way we can get from the Bordeaux for Calais on foot. Steve pointed out, I have the money to pay, however, the boards between the provinces are very tightly secured. We can't get past them without the believable lie. I told him, you have the cash. We can say that we are brothers going to make a betrayal deal up in the Nantes, he proposed. I also have a friend that lives up the Nantes, so we will also have a place to stay in for a while. Okay, it's a plan. I'll go buy some food for and we'll make our way to Nantes. We begin our journey. We begin our journey for Bordeaux to Nantes. The first few days went without any issues. But about a week later, we started out the journey, and we made it to the border of the regions Aquitani, or Polito Charities, or a border that was manned by perhaps about a dozen or so officers. Bonjour, bonjour, monsieur, passports, see a voice polite. Bonjour, officer. Steve said as he handed out the officer fake identification. The call out, go ahead. The officer that he was waving us on, waving us on. We advanced in silence for about a quarter of an hour. After we were a safe distance away, Steve finally broke the silence. My, I cannot believe that actually worked. Me neither, lad, me neither, I replied. We traveled around for about a week. Nothing much happened at all, and it was a peaceful journey throughout the province of Ploitu Charities. We eventually made it to the border, but this one was even more heavily guarded than the last one. There are at least 30 officers at the post. Damn, why are there so many officers? I asked. Probably because we are getting closer to England. A lot of people will be trying to escape from the war and go to England, Stu replied. Hey, now all we have to do is get past here and we can at least get your mates here in the house. As we pulled up, numerous officers came up to the wagon to order to question us. Bonjour, officer, I started with. Bonjour, passports, he replied. We gave him the passports and waiting while he checked him over. He finally mumbled. Is there an issue, officer? I asked. No, not at all, sir, he replied. Finally, my heart came calmed down a little, but that was too close for the comfort. Quentin, I cannot read this issue. I cannot. This is so stupid. I cannot read this anymore. Huh. What business do you have in Pays de la Lawyer? Don't worry, guys. Don't worry, guys. It's just Jay. Jay, you have to calm down. The officer asked, and we have a trade deal, he replied, with Wham. Wham. Quentin, what does it say that for? Look it up, please, look it up. Okay. Jay, calm down. Why is Wham or who? Okay, Jay, read this. Huh? Hum? No, Jay. Who, hum. Hum shall be used to refer to the object of the verb or preposition. When in doubt, try this simple trick. If it can replace a word with he or she, use who. Quentin, I can't do this right now. I don't know what Grammarly means by who. What does hum mean? I don't know what hum is. Jay, you're learning him right now. You're learning it right now, dude. If you can replace a J with him or her, you're him, use hum. Who should be used to refer to the subject of a sentence? Do you know how to pronounce hum, Jay? Can I hear it right now? I don't know what to do. I am so stupid. I cannot do it anymore. Jay, it's okay. I got this.
Whom?
Whom? What does whom mean? Hum or whom? A hum or whom? A hum or whom? A hum or whom? Jay. Okay, Jay, it's not like that. You can pronounce hum or whom. No, it's whom, not hum. Hum or whom. I did not know how to pronounce hum, but I did not know how to pronounce that word whom, but I finally pronounced it today. So hum or whom. Is it hum or whom? I cannot tell. It's whom, you stupid bastard. I don't know what to say about you. You have to practice the pronunciation. It's not like my mom is gonna get me. I'm like, but Quentin, I'm like 8 years old now. Do you know why? I'm a smart boy, and you can never tell me what to do or anything like a pronunciation. Does that mean anything to you? Say it slow, Quentin. Come on.
Whom?
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 Whom? Is that better, Jay? Course it is better. What do you think I am? Go read your stupid song already. Jay, it's not a song. It's my story. Well, not my story, but it's my video for this story. Okay. Where am I at? I think you're right here. A lad named Jackie's Fallen. How do you say that word again? I cannot tell. I don't know, Jay. Do you want me to read the rest of it? I guess. I don't know. What are you waiting for? Christmas? What are you trading? He asked. Each question was making me more nervous. Fur, Steve said. He was very, very good with improvisation. Neither of us knew we would be questioned this much. The officer had been interrogating us, strolled to the back of our wagon. We heard him open the back of the wagon and we started rummaging out. Trying to find anything somewhat suspicious, after a minute or two, we heard him yell something to the other officers, but it was French. And neither Steve or I were fluent in French, but the next thing I knew, Steve and I were getting dragged out of our wagon. We were then not unconscious, unconscious in driving somewhere or driving out of nowhere. I woke up very dizzy into an unfamiliar place. I looked around. Gray, that's all there was. The stench of urine was unbearable. I had to wrap my tattered clothes around my nose to prevent the horrid stench from going up my nose. There was a tiny window with a light peeping throughout the thick steel bars. That tiny window was only source of fresh air. I turned around and saw the big wooden door. There was no inside handle. This is the moment when I realized that I was in prison. And then I saw Steve. He was slumped over in the back of the corner where it was darkest. He had a very large cut underneath one eye, as well as a black eye in the other eye. I felt alright, a little dizzy, but nowhere near the wreck that Steve was. He was still breathing at that time. He had a pulse still, but I honestly didn't know if he was going to make it. After hours of trying to wake him up, I saw him flicker to life. He tried to talk, but I could barely make out what he was saying. I sat down next to him. What happened, lad? I asked. I felt him grab me. So I slung my head back at the one of the officer, but I think I broke his nose. But then one of the officers swung at me and I got a good connection, he said, as he pointed to cut near his eye. I continued to fight, but they hit me again, and I don't remember anything about that. We sat in silence for about an hour and a half. I could tell from outside it was coming close for 7 p.m. All of a sudden, I hear rattling keys and swing of a door. If a door was a very built guy, he was at least 6.5 food. He said that he was placed down 2 trays of soup, bread, and a tiny glass of water. Tiny glass of water? Quinn, are you that serious? How can you have a tiny glass of water? That doesn't make sense. I mean, like a toy. Like a toy glass of water. Then he left. Steve and I began to eat. The soup was cold and bland. The bread was moldy. Even the water was dirty. Though we were starving because we haven't eaten in nearly 24 hours. We need to get out of here. Steve said that after he finished his soup, yes, we need a plan. Life went on like that for 2 years. We kept trying to devise a plan to escape, but nothing came in mind. Life wasn't awful in prison. Every day the fear of starvation or disease terrified us. Our cell was disgusting. Dead mice and roaches were all over the floor. We hadn't washed at all in those 2 years. It was a miracle neither of us had died yet. On top of that, we were poorly fed. We were weak. We were startled to find that will to keep on surviving. But one of the bit of hope changed all that. I got it, Steve said to me. What? What have you got? I replied. A plan, lad. I know how to escape. What is it? I asked, excited and nervous. You need to act dead. The guard will come and check if you are actually dead. I'll steal a stick or something from the hallway, and I'll knock him out. You and I then run away as far as I can, or far as we can. Brilliant, tonight we do it. The day passed. We heard a rattling of the keys. I acted like I was dead. I couldn't see anything, but I could hear I could hear everything. He he is dead, Steve told the guard, faking the pain in his voice. What a shame, the guard said, with no emotion in his voice at all. Let me have a look. It was at that moment when I heard a whack and a grunt. It had worked. I opened my eyes, got up, and ran. That was the only option run we managed to get out of the window, but we heard an alarm of yelling and the yelling guards. Arates! Arates! They yelled. But there was no way we were stopping. We were too far ahead, and the guards couldn't catch us. After a bit of traveling, we finally found a city. We went up to this whole old homeless man, or old homeless woman, on the side of the road. Where are we? I asked her. Poitiers, she replied. Thank you, madam, I said. I politely said. As we walked away, I asked Eve, where the hell is the Poitiers, lad? Lad, we haven't blessed. Poitiers is right near the border. I'm shocked they didn't take us to some place farther away. We walked for a few weeks until we finally saw a border. We lost our passports, money, and wagon for the first time we attempted this, but we had fought this out for a while in prison. Remember the plane, Steve. Head to the blind spot, I told him. The border security posts were placed 3 miles apart from each other. We headed to the middle of the two posts. We stayed low and quiet. We slowly, carefully made our way to across the border. We succeeded. We were out of sight. Steve and I looked at each other, nodded, and started sprinting. Nantes was not far away for the Poiters. We made it there without any problem. Steve had memorized where his friend lived, so we walked to where he lived. It was a very middle-class home in the middle of a busy street. The house was small, only one story, but it was large enough to the house for 3 people for a few days. We made our way to the front and knocked. The front door knocked. Pardon me. A young man opened. He couldn't have been older. Couldn't have been like older any older than like 30. I noticed Steve right away. Straight away. Come on in. Was the only thing he said. We were in the house. The first thing we did was get clean and get some clothes. After that, we sat down with Jackie's. Or Jackie's. Where is it Jack or is it Jay? It's actually or Jack's or Jackie's, and had a cup of tea. We discussed the plan and everything that happened. I'll let you stay here for a while, or a little while. Then you have got to go. This war is getting worse, and it is a long way to Calais. So we stayed with Jax for a few days while we devised a plan. Lad, will everything border have those in blind spots? I asked. It's very likely, but at the moment, I don't think getting past the borders is our main problem. We know how to get past those, but we now just need to figure out how to get across the channel. Steve replied. We can't swim, that's for sure. Our best bet is sneaking onto a ship. Steve proposed. That's risky business, lad. Well, it's our best yet. Do you have a better idea, mate? No, I guess not. Let's try it. Sounds like you lads had agreed on how to escape. It's very risky, but it's the only way to get back to England. It is handy, however, that a lot of ships leave the port daily. Call Jackie's from the other room. Yeah, we should be gone by tomorrow morning. I call back. Good. Let me pack you some materials. It'll take you about a week for more work for walking to reach Calais if you go non-stop if I were you. I will plan out where you should stop to rest. Yeah, we will have to look at that. We should be back in England in just under a fortnight, I replied. Fortnight. You still play Fortnite? Get lost. No, no, just kidding. It's your life, you can play it. I don't mind. So Steve and I spent a couple of hours locating where we were going to stop and rest. We set off a journey to Cowlice as soon as the sun rose. We had backpacks filled with water and food, as well as a few survival tools. Everything went pretty smooth as we traveled. We easily managed to sneak past the borders after 18 days of traveling. Cowlice was in our sights. We had planned to board one of his 6 p.m. ships. The current time was apparently 4:25, so we had enough time to scout the boat for the best hiding place. The boat was empty, but already loaded, which was very useful, but we found a decent hiding spot between the few crates, most of which were marked with champagne. In the big bold letters, the champagne was probably will be loaded off the boat. Lassimia was the most expensive, fragile boat, and the item in the boat, and it was also towards the back of the boat. There's the only one way we are going to be able to get off the boat, I told Steve. How? Asked Steve. We are going to have to jump off the boat into the ocean. It shouldn't be too bad, because there are ladders dotted around that we could use to get out of the water. If that's our best chance of getting off, then I guess we have to do it. Right after Steve said that, we heard someone yell, "Zoid, Brad!" which mean, "Get ready!" The next 3 hours were silent and painful. Both Steve and I were very uncomfortable position, but we had endured pain much worse than this while in jail. But eventually we heard a thud and the boat stopped. This was our chance. Steve wasn't messing around. He dove up straight away. He landed feet first and bobbed to the surface. He had made it safely down. He began swimming towards the ladder as I jumped. I had fortunately made a lot of noise as I hit the water, because a few of the boat members had looked towards the water. Luckily, I was underwater when they looked, so they didn't see me. I swam as fast as I could towards the ladder where Steve was waiting. We climbed up for the frigid water as ran as fast as we could. Nobody saw us running. We were finally free. "Josh, we done it. We're free." Steve said to me that he gave me a hug. I smiled and hugged him back. "Cheers for everything, mate. I hopefully see you around sometime." With that, we both walked away from each other. We both lived quite far away from each other. He was a Londoner, while I lived in Liverpool. We occasionally met up, but we sent a lot of letters to each other. This war ended a few years ago after we escaped. But even when the war was going on, I didn't care about it. I was just glad to be free from the terrible war that French Revolution. The end. Great work, Jack Wright. Okay, so I might I don't know how long I'll be recording, but it's kind of like a long story. But I guess I can read one more. What do you think, Jay? Uh, I guess I can. I guess. I mean, I do like reading. Okay. Review sheet. HOM and GMS atoms and minerals. This is from Mr. Burton's class. Quinn, what do you call your teacher gay? Is that how he waves? Jay, don't get me in trouble for this, okay? That's just how I feel right now, guys. Sorry. Review sheet. HOM and GMS, atoms and minerals. Know the habits of mind. Be able to explain the growth mindset. Be able to explain the fixed mindset. Know the definition of science. Know the definition of hypothesis. Be able to explain how the scientific method works. Be able to define the parts of an atom. Be able to draw a diagram of an atom. Know the different types of bonds, ionic and covalent, hydrogen and metallic. Know the 4 states of matter. Be able to define a mineral. Memorize it. Be able to explain the definition of mineral in your own words. Be able to understand and discuss each separate part of definition. Know the chemical formulae for each of the following minerals: calcite, quartz, halite, gypsum, or hematite or silicate ion, be able to draw a tetrahedron shaped molecule silicate ion. Know what two atoms make up this common molecule in a lot of minerals. Know the angle that separates these atoms. Be able to define and calculate density of a mineral. Know the major categories or classes of minerals. Know all the qualities or properties that are used to determine a known mineral. Color streak, crystal system, and hardness cleavage or luster density. Know Mohs hardness scale. Be able to explain how to do the hardness test. Be able to explain what the acid test does. Be able to recognize the 6 different crystal symmetry systems. Know which elements are the most common in the crust. Know which elements are most common in the universe. Know the percentage of the differences for baryonic matter, dark matter, and dark energy. Be able to explain the process of use to ID different minerals. Be able to explain them in a detailed way to the HOM. Do you guys know what it stands for? Habits of mind. You need to use, you know, during this unit. All right, that's all for this video right here. I don't know how long we're recording, but see you guys in part 73. And Jay, do you want to say something? I have a question. Okay, so, what is a mineral? What is a mineral? Um, you see, Jay, um, mineral is a solid and organic substance in natural occurrence. So in geology, or space science, a mineralogy, a mineral or mineral species is, broadly speaking, a solid chemical compound with a fairly well-defined chemical composition in a specific crystal structure that occurs naturally in pure form. So this could be about properties, luster, hardness, or relationships that can be described by this page. So, yeah.